What's up guys, it's Nogo here, and just kind of talk about the build selling situation and the actual truth of it, and kind of what happened behind the scenes, and was it really just a big scam to exploit a bunch of children. So I'm just going to talk about this in this video here, and this is not me promoted, I do not promote it, Lancelot no longer runs it. So first I'm going to talk about why I'm not going to get banned. I've seen a lot of things, people saying ban Nogo right now. Why is Nogo not getting banned? So first I'm just going to explain the legality of why I won't be banned. So I want to say that I will agree with you, this looks like BM. I will not lie, this literally does look like BM, but to call it BM is false because it's simply just, by definition, it is not considered black marketing. If it was, I would be banned, but there's a reason why I'm in game right now. So yeah, this looks like BM. I will agree with that looks BM, but it's not BM. So first we're going to talk about the deep woken TOS. So this is what actually allowed it. It's not really a loophole, it's just the truth, because a build stat is not a physical, tangible deep woken item like a deep woken service, like a layer 2 carry. So this is why it's just not considered BM, because it is not an actual item. And it's the same thing for the Roblox TOS as well, which is why it doesn't go against Roblox TOS, because it's not a physical thing. It's just the exchange of knowledge. That's what it is. Just simply, basically, it's like a list of numbers in a notepad document. That's basically what's being like exchanged, which is not a deep woken item. It's not like an out of currency, out of item thing from outside the game. It's literally just essentially knowledge. So it is by definition, in the deep woken rulebook, not considered black marketing. Now, of course, they could make a specific rule against it, but at the time, there was no rule against it. And just, if anyone's wondering about the Discord TOS, it's where is it? Right here. It's just, this just doesn't break the TOS, nothing like data or anything like that, if anyone's worried about that. And then the next thing, I'm just going to go over the screenshot because the screenshot has been passed around. People saying this person is essentially just listing all the things they've BM'd, but this is just really out of context. They were just simply listing the payments they received at that time. When you can see the screenshot right here in the payments received channel, we're just talking about what they actually received. So no BM, no black marketing at all was happening behind doors. And just think about it. Why would I actually BM? I mean, I have just so much to lose for what, $5? So yeah, it just no BM was happening by any user at all. So it just was not happening. And then also this screenshot right here is me asking specific permission from HorrorTM. So people are telling me to ban me after getting permission. You can't tell someone you're allowed to do something and then still ban them despite telling them they were allowed. It simply just doesn't, you can't do that, right? It doesn't make sense. So, and I did say how I would immediately stop this operation entirely if I was ever asked, and that is exactly what I did. The second I was asked by Archman, he told me, hey, you should just stop it. I immediately just went and I stopped it. Like 2 minutes later, a minute after, I said, all right, wrap it up. You guys can no longer do the operation. You guys can no longer sell build sets in Lancelot. And I immediately shut it down. No questions asked. I didn't even try it and kind of, what is it, like argue against, all right, somebody shut it down entirely, right? So I did listen to the commands that were told me. I always following all the rules. And for people saying there's a lot of mod bias, this is a DM with me and Horror, the only person who allowed me to do this. If there's some sort of bias here, if he's my friend, let me know, because this is not, I don't know what type of friend this is, but this is the person who allowed me. If there's mod bias, you guys make your own choice on that, but legality aside, what most people have the issue is the morality of what we were doing. And I'll explain what the intention of the service was. Since I believe the argument most people have is, since I wouldn't buy build sets, only dumb people would buy build sets. And the only dumb people in the community are people probably below my age. So children. Therefore, Lancelot is exploiting and scamming children. So we're going to talk about this statement here, because this is like the general argument, because I was talking to people in the Discord. This was like the general thing they were saying. It's like, you guys are just scamming a bunch of children. You guys are scamming a bunch of dumb people who don't know what they're doing. They don't know how to spend their money. You guys should add an age check of being 17 plus, things like that, of that nature. So I'm just going to talk about this statement here. And so I'll say this was not the intention at all. The intention of the entire system and the service was to help people who didn't know how to make perfect build stats for the build they wanted by guiding them through the process and then being paid for your time. And you guys can actually see this in real time in the builder and the deep woken builder server. There are people every couple minutes constantly asking for a builder, constantly asking for a build to help them out. Now, it's kind of just wrong to say these are all just children, or it's just people who just don't know how to make the build they want. And a lot of people are just paying nothing. They have some good items, but a lot of people are just paying like something nobody wants. You know what I'm saying? Like nobody just wants to help you out for just a vouch, right? So it just goes on and on. There are constantly people asking for build. And if builds were truly just so easy, so simple to make, well, all these people would just make the build themselves, right? But, it's trying to get the build set. If you want to make like a triple hybrid with like an Acheron's or maybe like a true Sarah Spirit, it's kind of hard to come up with these build sets yourself, right? And you would want guidance to try and help you through the build making process. And this is the intention of the system. This is the intention of what I wanted to do. And so I try to introduce this system so people of higher skill level who've played the game for a while can help people who are not at their skill level yet with making builds. And this is an example of how a lot of the tickets run. So here's an example of one of the tickets where it's a back and forth between the client and the build maker. See, they're going back and forth here, showing them how you can make the build better, why something's bad on the build, etc. Now, not all tickets went like this. Some tickets were just one and done, like right here, ticket right here, to say, what build do you want? Gank. And then just ask them a few questions about the build. Is it good? Yeah. Anything else? And that's it. But most of the time it was a genuine like back and forth conversation, questioning like, is this good? Is this not? Why isn't this good? Do you think I should use this? Etc. I'll show a few more examples of the tickets here. Another one by Shark Slicer. Like it was like a genuine like back and forth conversation. It wasn't like a ticket done in 1 minute most of the time. Show another ticket right here. This one by Vault. It's on a Diluvian build. This one was by Stone right here. You kind of see an example of how the tickets like actually went, because I don't think a lot of people like generally knew like how these tickets went, right? So it was like in a way a subset of coaching. We're giving our guidance, our coaching on how to actually make these types of builds. That was the main intention of what I wanted to have. And we'd often allow them to DM us past the initial build creation if they had any future questions on their build. So it wasn't just done and done. If they ever DM'd us, we would always, help guide them through the full entire build making process, not in game ever, just, build stats and advice. However, the main concern, besides the act of helping make build stats, was the issue with me or Lancelot advertising it. People believed that we were scamming since they believed we would market that unless you bought builds from a top 50, you can never be top 50, for example. And I will say that I do see what you mean. I would agree that to a new player, they would have these thoughts. And since this was against what I wanted, which was a back and forth trying to make the build specifically built for the client and guiding them through how to make their build rather than just copying a top 50 build thinking you get top 50, I did add warnings to make sure the player would know this. You can see right here, I added this warning in the ticket channel, made it basically as bold as I could without kind of making the ticket thing like too ugly in a way, I should say, to make the format nice. But I did put, we can only guarantee the best build for what you need, so a build based on what you want, but climate elo is never a guarantee, and that is solely based on how you play. So I did put warnings against this. But of course this was not enough, as there was a builds for sale channel, which is what I also removed. This was the channel where Supa and I think Valix also checked out, where they could basically just buy a build that's already been proven to be top 50. And I feel like this would have given the false premise that people would just buy the build and immediately become a good player. So I shut it down because this is not what I wanted. This is not what I intended to have with the entire service. So I did take steps in removing what people would consider some predatory systems or something that would just kind of take advantage of players who don't really know better when it comes to build making and how it is really more skill than it is build, as I've always said. Skill takes a higher role than build for the most part, unless it's a cheese build, that is something else. And the other issue where people mentioned that scamming in the sense that people have predatory marketing and how the builds made are just bad. Now, for the first part, here are some examples of what ads looked like for the builder, and it was competition. You did have to compete between other builders, as there are many builders trying to get your attention so they can make a build for you. And they competed with their credentials, like if they ever hit top 10, things like that, if they're really good at ganks, anything like that, usually being their skill. Either way, it is true that a build vetted by someone proven to be top 50 consistently made sense if people wanted to know if their builds could work in a competitive setting. Because not every player can just be top 50 or even knows what happens in a top 50 setting. It's sort of mantra that actually viables past a certain elo point. And add on to this, not everyone has access to a friend who's very good at making builds and access to a friend who's top 50, top 10, etc. Someone who's highly experienced. So this gave the opportunity for everyone to have access to people that normally they would not have access to. It's something like Metal Rain would even work near top 10 or top 50. So that was just kind of like this whole thing. It was like a competition to compete against other builders where you could offer your expertise and then sell that expertise in that service to clients and then help them through the process of making their build. Anything of the nature that could guarantee that a build would make them top 10 or top 20, I did put a stop against that. Like I said, with the warnings and the removal of the builds for sale channel. Now for the part about people making bad builds, I do agree that the build made for Supa was very bad. And I did feel genuinely very bad about knowing that some clients could be getting a horrible build due to the build maker not actually knowing how to make the build on the attunement. So I added another layer of protection, forcing build makers to prove they have knowledge over an attunement before making a build by it. So you can see an example here how it was supposed to work is, it wasn't here at the start, but how it would work is you'd have to prove mastery over all the attunements by making a build specifically made for each of them. So you'd actually can prove that you know how to make builds for each attunement. And there was also a hybrid collection badge you can get, mastery, and then also for PvE. So I wasn't just letting anyone in Lancelot, just make any builds they wanted. Originally it was like this, but I did change the system because I really did want this service to be of the highest quality. So I also had some of the best build makers considered in the entire game, kind of watch over all the build making process and the builder applications. Because I am bad at build. I always ask someone else to make my builds because every time I make a build, I ask them, hey, can you make it better? And they always make it better. These players do hold themselves to a high standard when it comes to build making. They're very serious about build making. Like you guys have been in the Deep and Builder channel, they're very serious about it. So, and for those saying I did all this money for myself, I personally make more money showcasing builds on my YouTube. So this wasn't for myself and instead for my guild. And this screenshot was the money added up from all the builders. I personally made around $15 USD and 1 nitro, and there were 232 vouchers. So I was 3 of these vouchers, but a lot of them were just other builders. And yeah, you could see the full thing here, and it ran for 3 days. So on average, it's making around $500 a day, not including deep win items, around like 2 blood forge a day. You get to look at the stats instead and interpret this for yourself. Yep. Hopefully this clears up some confusion, as I didn't want this to be some scam. I thought of it as a way for experienced players to earn money on the side, helping newer players who didn't have the experience to know how to make perfect builds for themselves yet by teaching them. This, in my eyes, is a subset of coaching which can be found in other games. You know, a lot of people just offer coaching and they offer their advice as a very good player who's have a lot of hours, and they just kind of teach you how to fish. However, I will say I do apologize for not leaving warnings earlier and for not deleting the builds for sale channel earlier, as there were constantly being updates made on the service to try and make it the best it can be, but I definitely should have thought it out more further before setting up the entire program. And if any of you do want to spend your free time making builds for free, feel free to go to this channel right here. There are hundreds of people wanting builds every day. Yeah, just go ahead and make a bunch of builds for free if you'd like to do that. So just to recap, I was actively taking steps to prevent some predatory marketing schemes. That was kind of an oversight, as it was my first time making a system that was actually paid for. And just kind of proved in the video, like I was generally trying to make sure service was not some sort of scam, not something that was looked at as like a way to just exploit a bunch of children, which I'm not sure where people got that from, but that's kind of the main argument that was told to me. But let me know what you guys think. I will no longer be promoting and selling the build sets, as it is not bannable, but it is punishable if you are a CC, proven right here. Goodbye.